All right. This is Ryan back again to talk about how I myself use Milner resources when I need to look up articles. So when we go to the Milner webpage at library.illinoisstate.edu, first thing you have is the Search Anything box. The Search Anything box is basically my favorite library resource of all time because I can type in all the keywords I want to check out. I can type in different combinations. I can find what I'm looking for. Now, for today, we are looking at Twitter and the case of Trayvon Martin's death and the George Zimmerman trial, and looking at the juror who was preparing to write a book about her experience on the jury. So we have several different keywords we can use. We're going to go in and type in all of them at the same time. So first, let's start with Twitter. Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman, and juror. All right, let's see what we get. Hit the enter button. All right, now at first glance, let's see, how are these articles looking? All right, we have some interesting articles. But something I'd like you to notice is that these articles are primarily, they're not exactly focused on the topic we're looking for. All right, and let me show what I mean by this. All right, first one, we're looking at race and essentialism and feminist legal theory. Twitter, social media, these topics are not in that title. All right, advocacy in the internet age, this is looking closer at, our approach as writing researchers. But it's not specifically about George Zimmerman or Trayvon Martin. They're listed in among the keywords. We've got Twitter, so here in this article, they're probably using it as an example. All right, pretrial publicity, post-Trayvon Martin world. May be interesting, but doesn't sound like what we're looking for. All right, history in the making. A title like that is so broad, I'm going to skip over that. All right, deliberations could begin in the murder trial. This is news. So overall, this blanket shot with all the keywords, as you can see, didn't really help us very much. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to refine our search a bit. So, for an English 145 course, we are focusing more on how to research writing a genre as opposed to how to report, as opposed to us reporting the news. We're talking about how other people report the news. So what we want to do, we're looking at Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, but they are not the most important parts for us. For us, the most important part is probably Twitter, because we want to know about this case, but we want to know about how Twitter relates to it. Now, as far as the jury, you'll notice that some of the articles we had were talking about juries in terms of protecting a jury. That is not at all what we're looking for. Yes, that is an interesting topic, but our interest is more about how Twitter is shaping public discourse. So I'm going to take this keyword and delete it. All right, now we've got Trayvon Martin, we've got George Zimmerman, and those are crucial keywords for what we're looking for, but we're only going to leave Twitter inside quotation marks at first because I want to see if we can get a more focused search. So let's try this. Let's see what happens. All right, experts analyze the 911 tapes. That sounds more like news than writing research. All right, Trayvon, this is, again, looks like a very broad article. Oh, this is an interesting article, the exploitation of Trayvon Martin's death. It's interesting for me because I am always worried that when I am teaching this in my class, that I myself, in a way, am exploiting his death. And so I just want to mention that because that is something we should, something to think about. All right, so we've got ex-officer suing town. That doesn't look at all like what we're looking for. Okay, reactions on Twitter. This looks like a good source. The families of Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman are reacting via Twitter. So I would definitely want to look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the plus sign here, and that's going to save it to a folder up top. This folder, this is all those little things that we click. All right, so let's keep going. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. This is very important because that is, that is probably I would say the most dominant Twitter hashtag at the moment when it comes to issues of how African Americans are treated by the police, by individuals like George Zimmerman. How are these issues covered in the media? And so, an article talking specifically about that is very much something we're interested in. All right, guilty of being black. Again, sounds like a very interesting article, but not exactly what we're looking for. Now, down here, the media Zimmermania. The mention of media, the mention of Zimmerman, that sounds like what we're looking for, especially since subjects we're looking at mass media and public opinion. Barack Obama is mentioned as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in our folder as well. Now, something I do want you to notice that this article has a PDF full text. A fair number of articles will have that, and that's very helpful for us because then we can just download the article right away. Okay, here, students demand investigation and death. Now, ordinarily, I might say, but the question is, how are they demanding the investigation? Is it via Twitter? If so, that could be interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and click that just in case. Well, actually, on second thought, no, because it's not about Trayvon Martin. Oh, wait, no, this is. I'm sorry. This is about Trayvon Martin. I forgot. This was in Florida. This is the reason why we have to keep track of what we're actually researching. All right, so we have some repeats of the article. Trial brings out the worst in us, and Twitter. It sounds interesting. Okay, now here, this is an article that is probably very important if you are going into criminal justice. But the reason we're not going to be looking at this one for English 145 is, again, because it's not focusing on the writing research. It's looking at institutional racism in the justice system, which is something that, well, we'll talk a little bit more about this as the course goes on. But for right now, we want to try to be as focused as we can on this research. Okay, Pew Research is doing a study on Twitter. This is probably very interesting. Pew Research tends to have pretty good data and statistics, and when they're saying 1/3 of Twitter users, that will help us better see what types of tools are being used by Pew Research as they research Twitter. And then the question comes up: can we use the same tools? What does it say about Twitter? The fact that those are the tools being used. All right. Going down a little bit more. Okay, celebrities react on Twitter. Now, in a traditional course, I would say, okay, this article, we don't need to bother with this one because it's, quote-unquote celebrities, pop culture, all that. For our course, for English 145, this is an interesting article because the different points of views of the celebrities, whether or not people listen to those celebrities, why are they reacting on Twitter as opposed to giving a press conference? This can help us understand Twitter better. So I've got that in our folder. All right. Now this one, Zimmerman wasn't guilty. Others are. Again, this is an article I would be interested in reading. From a quick glance, I'm guessing I'm going to have mixed feelings on the article itself, but since it's not focusing on Twitter, I feel okay passing this up. Alright, Trayvon Martin killer to be charged, Twitter reactions. Now let's look at the date on this, April 11th, 2012. You know, this is at the time that the case was going on. Alright, so we definitely want to include that because this can give us some perspective of how viewpoints changed over time. Okay, Spike Lee losing money over a quote-unquote stupid tweet. That might be in there with the earlier articles about celebrities. Now, because it is Spike Lee, and because Spike Lee is, a very important individual when it comes to race relations and documentaries and documenting what the situation is for African Americans in the United States, I'm interested in how his tweet could relate to him losing money. Okay, so here's an extreme one. Trayvon Martin supporters want Zimmerman beheaded. The first thing this brings to mind would be terrorists who have actually beheaded people. Given that this is extreme behavior that we wouldn't normally see in a press conference, but we do see it on Twitter, I think this is worth taking a look at. Alright, so we've got apparently the Kill Zimmerman Twitter became fairly big news. I wasn't familiar with this. I'm going to add that article on as well. Alright, now down here they're talking about boxing matches, talking about George Zimmerman's brother. More people calling for George Zimmerman to be killed. Alright, now here's something interesting. Elderly couple abandons home after address is posted on Twitter as George Zimmerman's. I do somewhat recall this. This is something that can be interesting because it shows the social reach of Twitter, which is a little bit different from past things. Journalists, for example, would never post a suspect's address in a newspaper, but on Twitter, these types of things happen. And if you get it wrong on Twitter, people don't necessarily know. Alright, so this article has some photos. Alright, more Twitter explosion. Alright, we're back to advocacy in the internet age. I'm going to go ahead and click this one now because it occurs to me that this might be a good general resource for us to look at. Alright, so we have quickly glanced through 34 different resources, and we've selected the ones that are of interest. So if we go up here and we go up to our folder, this will show us the items that we have highlighted as being interesting. Now, you'll notice that most of them, well, actually, for all these articles, you'll find a Find It button. All right. For many of the articles, you'll see either HTML full text or PDF full text. Now, what I generally do is, if an article looks somewhat interesting, I will go to the HTML or the PDF and I will download those right away. All right. I'll probably glance through them. So, for example, if we open this one, alright, this is the hashtag Black Lives Matter kitchen talk. This is an article I definitely would want to read. Alright, so I'm going to scroll over a little bit in the PDF, and I click this button to download it. Alright, now you wouldn't be able to see that on the video because that's in a different tab. Now if we go a little bit farther over, alright, you'll notice we've got a button here that says Cite. That button is really helpful because if you click that, it will give you all the different citation formats for this article. Alright, so we've got APA right here. If you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, oh wait, MLA is not at the very bottom anymore, but pretty close to the bottom, you'll have this citation that most likely you can copy this straight into your works cited page with few changes. I must warn you, there are generally a couple errors in them. But this one, formatting looks right. It's got web. It's got the date. It makes it a lot easier to cite the source rather than having to read through the whole article to find out what it is. All right, but I'm digressing. If we hit the close button, that will take us back to the PDF. Hit the back button, and then we will be back at our list of sources. All right. Now, you'll notice that many of the sources we selected, they have a Find It button. They don't have HTML full text. They don't have a PDF. And so these can be pretty hit or miss. If you click the Find It button, you can't see this in the video because it opened in a different tab. Okay, so I'm going to just copy the link and open it in this tab. Alright, so when you do the Find It button, it will tell you whether or not there's an online full text. This one, sorry, no online full text found. Alright, but you can search for Milner copies, you can search the article delivery service, Case like this, if it's not an article I'm particularly thrilled about, I'm not going to go through a lot of extra effort to find the article. Reason being is because I can go through and find, several, 4 or 5 pretty good articles in the time that it might take to track down a single article. All right. Okay. So that's kind of a crash course in using those keywords and using Search Anything. This video, like I said, crash course. This is not the be-all and end-all. In my next video, I'm going to talk about how we differentiate between finding scholarly sources versus finding the periodicals, which is most of what we found in here. And then another one, we'll talk about the advanced search. So be sure to see those videos. All right, signing off.